Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at seeing how much is your PC actually worth. Now this is going to be a long ranty video of all sorts of different kind of philosophies and principles of actually trying to work out how much is your PC actually worth. How much is it worth to you, how much did it cost, and what's it actually worth to a potential buyer? Or is it better to just basically take the whole thing apart, put all the bits back in their boxes and sell them as individual components? Hopefully we'll give you some ideas of what you can do with your old PC. For this particular video, we've got our son's old PC. He's, well, I'll say recently, about a year ago, he upgraded his entire system, so he's got a whole new bunch of kit. So effectively, we've got a whole working PC here, which is a little bit on the older side. But what I want you to do, I'm going to go through some of the components in here, give you a list of what is in here. What I'd like for you to do is to actually pause the video once I've given you the list of the specifications, and then go to the comment section and write down how much you think it's going to be worth. Then we're going to resume the video and I'm going to tell you how much I think the components are worth. Then we're going to look at places you can go online to actually kind of validate your pricing, and then we'll work out who is right, who is wrong, and basically what is this PC actually worth to sell as a whole, or is it better off to sell as components? Okay, so let's drill through the specification of this PC. So we'll start with the case. So the case is the Corsair 4000X RGB. The motherboard is a MSI B550 PC Mate, a little bit of an older one. Processor is a Ryzen 7 2700X. The CPU cooler is a Corsair H100i RGB, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I have got the box somewhere, but it's an H100. I'm pretty sure of that. The RAM is Corsair also, so that is DDR4 16GB kit and is running at DDR4 3466 megatransfers per second. You can probably tell already, but the graphics card is a NVIDIA GTX 1080 Founders Edition style card. The internal storage is only a 256 gig model, but it is at M.2 PCI Express Gen 3 x4, and the power supply is an EVGA 550 watt gold. So now you know what the parts are. Pause the video and please do write in the comment section what you think this PC is actually worth. So when it comes to the actual PC itself and its value, obviously some things are going to come into account, such as the general aesthetics. If you're using a case, which is a nice looking case, generally you're going to get more for it as a second-hand purchase because it's attractive to buyers. Also, we all know this, RGB sells a computer, so if you list your computer for sale on a second-hand site such as Facebook Marketplace or eBay, or even on our own Discord, having the RGB on and having it lit up looks a lot nicer than it does when it's all turned off. Other things you can do as well to increase the value of your PC is just do some general maintenance. A little bit of cleaning and a little bit of elbow grease just to make it all look nice and clean and tidy will go a long way, as will doing some cable management, at least on the side which is visible. Things in the back you can not worry about too much. Generally people, if they're going to come around to look at a PC to buy off you, it's extremely rare that they're going to take the back panel off to have a look at your cable management skills. But if you've got the time and you've got the inclination, then it's also worth doing that as well, just so that if they do want to open it up, or you can perhaps even open it up yourself and say, look, take a look in the back, it's all nice and neat and tidy if you ever want to do any upgrades. Other things which can actually improve the potential for actually selling your machine is keeping the boxes, keeping everything nice and tidy all together, any documentation, any spare parts such as extra fittings for the AIO, things like the original processor box and possibly the original cooler. And if you're selling an item which is potentially going to be a collector's item, such as the GTX 1080 Founders Edition, if you've got the original packaging for that, potentially that can increase its value. Something else which isn't quite as important but can also help aid a sale is if you've got a modular or semi-modular power supply and you've got the packaging and also all of the cables that it comes with, that again can help increase the resale value. There are other certain things you can do as well to help potential purchases, and that is very simple things such as repasting the CPU thermal paste, possibly taking apart the GPU and repasting that if you can. That will generally reduce the temps, and also you can tell the potential buyer that you've done these things as general maintenance, which means it's something that they don't need to do. Also, you can, if you want to, run some benchmarks and possibly even do screen records or captures, or just take a picture with your smartphone, just so that if they ask what does it run like, you can actually then give them some realistic temperatures and results which will possibly put their minds at ease. So with all that out of the way comes to the part of actually pricing up the PC to sell. Now I've taken some kind of guesswork based on what we've got here to work out what I think it's worth. Now I will say initially when I looked at this PC and just on face value, I was thinking somewhere around the sort of £250 to £300 mark. So if you've put that in the comments section below, then yeah, you're pretty much bang on. Now of course I should say when we are, this is late August 2024 and this is in the UK, so UK pricing will apply. Obviously if it's in America, your figures will be different, and as they will in other parts around the world. So let's break down what my pricing was and actually see what that works out to be. So I went as far as saying the CPU was worth £40, the CPU cooler around about £30, the motherboard £40, the case as it stands about £40, the RAM again another £40, the storage I went a little bit over on this, I said £20, it's probably worth a little bit less. And with the GPU I've said £100, which may be undervaluing it slightly. The power supply, being it's a second-hand unit and has been in use for a while, I've said £40. The additional fans from Corsair, you're looking at about another £20. And a Windows license, I've thrown that in for good measure for about £5. Now, of course, if you want to pick up a Windows license for around about £5, you can head over to premiumcdkeys.com/Mike's Unboxing and use the discount code Mike's Unboxing to get your Windows license key for, well, considerably less than £5. So that's definitely worth checking out. I should say, if you do purchase anything from premiumcdkeys.com, it is an affiliated link, so we will generate a small kickback in terms of commission. It doesn't cost you anything else, but it helps the channel and potentially you can save yourself an absolute fortune. So that was the individual prices that I suggested. So how do you actually validate those? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can head over to secondhand sites such as eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and just type in the name of your component and see what the approximate value is. A really handy thing you can do on eBay is actually go down to the bottom and click on sold items. That way you can see what items have been selling for very recently, the highs, the lows, and various different categories such as fully working, brand new in box, used, for parts only, that kind of thing. So just use those as a guideline, and based on what you think the item is worth, you can kind of guess somewhere in between. Now obviously if you price it really low, you're generally going to get a very quick sell. If you try and price your items towards the upper levels, it may take a little bit longer to sell, but certainly if it does sell, you do reap the rewards. If for some reason you've got a slight dislike for eBay and those kinds of things, you can go over to certain other places such as CEX here in the UK. Those are pretty well known, although sometimes you do find the CPU prices and GPU prices don't always quickly follow trends. So if there has been a dip in the marketplace, CEX will really have somewhat of a lag. You can also try at places such as gpus.co.uk, or of course, like I said, Facebook Marketplace is quite good, but again, the listings can differ vastly. And even for us here in the UK, which is a relatively small country, you can find massive pricing discrepancies between perhaps London or the Southwest and possibly the Midlands and up through to the North. Also, some other things to bear in mind. One thing in particular in this, with the case, the Corsair 4000X RGB, this actually retails at the moment here in the UK brand spanking new in a box for £109.99. Now I valued it at about £40. Obviously, some people will pay more, some people will pay less. I think that's a fair price to pay for a used case, and it still looks pretty nice that there isn't any dings or bangs and all the parts are there. So I think it's a pretty decent price and is probably what you'd expect to pay. So just because you've spent a lot of money on your PC parts and maybe it owes you, I don't know, maybe £1,000 or so, don't expect to sell it on the second-hand market and get £1,000 or even 80% of that price back. Generally, PC components do tend to lose value, especially as they get older. Something else on this particular PC is the motherboard. Now the motherboard on this is a B350 chipset, which came out right at the very beginning of the AM4 lineup. So this is a really old board now, although having said that, it does still have current BIOS support, and actually for the latest vulnerabilities in the AM4 platform, they have actually just released a new beta BIOS. So it's not completely dead and buried, but I think some people will be put off by it. So potentially if you've got a slightly older motherboard or an older processor, which is maybe more than 4 or 5 years old, do expect to get quite a hit on the price, unless it is a really sought after one or is no longer made, in which case some people will actually pay a premium for something which is no longer made because they just want to replace like for like. especially those people that use kind of home servers and that kind of thing, where they do want to replace an exact thing so they don't have to do a complete Windows reinstall. So again, potentially your parts may be worth considerably less than you bought, or in some instances, they might even be worth considerably more. Again, going down to doing your own research and doing some, basically trawling through websites to see what parts are going for now and what they have been, you could potentially get a really good comeback on your PC. So anyway, I've rattled on for way too long, but hopefully this has given you some insight to the thought process from me, and also potentially for some of you if you're thinking of selling your used PC parts or an entire used PC. Clearly with this, I think if we sold it as individual parts, we could actually get some really good feedback on that and get some pretty quick sales. But again, it depends what you want to do. If you want to have it nice and easy and just sell and take away the whole lot in one go, it might be worth lowering the price to do that. But if you're on a real budget and you're trying to get all the funds you can, it may well be worth splitting for individual components, but just be aware that they may not all sell quickly or at all. So you do have to take that risk. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe and then the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.